Welcome to Final Approach with Chris Gregory. I am a philomath who is somebody who loves to learn things. One of the things that I've learned is that everyone has a tale to tell and a lesson to teach. From pilots to farriers to musicians to authors and creators, I'm going to explore my interests while introducing you to some amazing people. Pre-flight is complete and we have clearance, so let's kick the tires and start the fires. Mike Randles is a well-known English farrier who I have known for many years, and he was a fantastic influence on Cody when Cody was starting out. Mike and I were both watching our sons compete at the World Champion Blacksmith competition at Spruce Meadows in Calgary in 2023, and I talked him into sitting down with me outside a show barn and telling me his story. Mike had produced the incredible forged anatomical leg model trophy that was presented at the World Championships this year, and it was just a beautiful sight to behold. His son, Matt Randles, just happened to win it this year. He has a lot to say, and you're going to like this interview. We are cleared for takeoff. All right, well, everybody, I am here with Mike Randles, and he is a legendary farrier in our industry. In fact, if you want to ask Cody, Cody blames Mike for being able to get feet flat. He'd come back from England after spending some time with Mike.
He collared me today at Spruce Meadows. It must be 6 or 7 years since we had time to speak, and he thanked me yet again for teaching him how to trim feet nice and flat.
Well, you can imagine how his dad must feel, right?
Oh, yeah. Every father wants to see their son go out and do better than them.
Absolutely, yeah, and I could only teach him what I knew. Folks, if you don't know, Mike Randles is the one who actually built the trophy they're giving out for the World Champion Blacksmith. He's a second-generation farrier. His son is the third generation and another legend who has won some big prizes.
He's the current European champion. He's had the national championship, and I believe he had a championship over in Norway or Sweden. I can't remember which one it was now. He's had that many. He's a very accomplished young man.
Yeah. So, Mike, where do you live?
I live in Staffordshire in England. I've been at the current property for 20 years. I have my forge there and my workshop where I make everything else that I do.
And how far is it from where you grew up?
It's approximately 30 miles. Where I lived as a young man was very flat. Where I live now, I'm 1,250 feet up.
And just 30 miles?
And only 30 miles away.
Okay.
I lived on what's called the Cheshire Plain. And as you come further inland, then all of a sudden you hit the big hills and you get the better views.
Okay. And so you like the hills better, I take it?
I love where I live.
Oh, nice. Isn't that a wonderful thing, to love where you live?
Fabulous. I mean, the sunsets, the vista must be 60 plus miles across.
So in case you guys didn't know, an Englishman, 60 miles is a long ways. If you grew up where I did, then 60 miles is how far you go for a loaf of bread.
Yeah, we don't have those kind of distances. My experiences of travelling around the States and in Canada here at present, the road network is far superior to anything we have back in England.
So there are all kinds of noises going on around us, and I apologize. We are at Spruce Meadows. It's 250 plus acres with 200 workers. There's something everywhere, isn't there?
It's an amazing place. If you're into horses, anything to do with horses,
right,
you've got to visit this place.
Even if you just like horses.
Yeah. Everywhere you look, there's either stores or there are arenas. There's people practicing for the big event in the show jumping, which is the Rolex Grand Slam, I believe. I was speaking to one of the officials earlier, and they reckon they could get 100,000+ people.
Man, how old were you when you started shoeing? I know you were a young child.
I made my first set of shoes with my father. I was 8 years of age. The funny thing is, history repeated itself with Matthew, my son. He made his first shoes when he was 8 years of age. And from that sort of age, Matt used to come out shoeing with me. I did my apprenticeship from the age of 16, which started in 1975.
All right. So you do a little math there. You're born...
I was born in 59. And then started my apprenticeship in 75.
Okay.
And finished late 79. And then in 82, got married and set up my own business.
And was your dad a farrier from a child as well?
Yes, he was.
All right. But his dad was not a farrier.
No. My father had three choices when he left school. He could become a blacksmith and farrier, a professional golfer, or an accountant.
Oh, my. What a diverse
yeah, and his
choice.
decision was he would do a man's job. So my father chose a man's job, and I think I must have followed in the same suit.
So all of you male golfers out there, don't take offense. And it is 2023, so we're not judging, right?
Not in the slightest. My father made his choices back in the 40s.
Okay.
According to my father back then, you weren't a man until you'd smoked your first cigarette and drunk your first pint of beer.
All right. So did you get a beer and a cigarette when you were 8?
No, he threatened if he ever caught me smoking a cigarette, he would make me eat it.
Oh, nice.
Whether it was lit or not. So I've never smoked. That's one vice I haven't got.
Oh, well, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I started my apprenticeship at the age of 16. I was on the England apprentice team when I was 18, did all the competitions around England.
So you are right at 50 years in this trade.
Yes.
Of actually getting paid for it.
48 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
48 years and about 2 months.
And you're still shoeing.
I still shoe 4 days a week.
Man.
I have a holiday let business, so I rent my farmhouse out for people to come and vacation.
Yeah.
And I'm currently building 2 more cottages, which mean there'll be up to 16 people capable of staying. Next year, maybe I'll look at cutting down to 2 days a week shoeing.
As the rental house, that's been a pretty prosperous gig?
It's been very profitable. Since COVID, there's not many people want to go abroad. There's been delays at the airports, so it's been a good choice, and hopefully that will become a pension.
Now, how many places have you traveled for shoeing? Like, you've been all over the world, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I used to travel with a friend of mine, and we went all around the States doing clinics. I think we virtually touched everywhere in the Midwest.
Oh, nice.
I've been to France, I've been to Belgium, Germany. I've got an invite to go over to Spain later in the year. A young man came over and served his apprenticeship with a friend of mine. We actually made his now wife's engagement ring.
Oh, very
We made
cool.
a Damascus steel ring. Now, in Spain, an engagement ring on the day of the wedding then becomes the wedding band.
What a nice thing for the young bachelor, huh?
His girlfriend, as she was at the time, was very upset that we wouldn't let her come to the workshop. She thought we were just going to have a little bit of a bash around, and she wanted to come and watch. He didn't dare tell her that what we were doing is we were making her engagement ring.
Very cool.
When they went back to Spain that Christmas, he took her up onto the cliff tops near where they live in Spain, in Murcia. He proposed. Luckily for him, she accepted it.
Yes.
Especially as we had borrowed one of her dress rings, so we could size the ring perfectly. And unfortunately, due to COVID, I wasn't able to attend the wedding. He did live stream it, and I sat and watched the wedding over in England.
Oh, that's pretty cool. You've got quite a creative and artistic forging side to you, right?
I like making Damascus steel.
All right. So now Kelly's contribution is people tell me how to do something, and you're going to tell me how to make Damascus?
Well, Damascus, or pattern welded steel, which seems to be a more modern term for it, is made by introducing 2 different grades of steel. In my case, I use 15N20 and 1085 high carbon. Now you stack it like a sandwich in alternate layers and tack the corners together.
Do you use a TIG welder, or does it matter?
TIG would be quite sufficient. I use a MIG because that's what I've got.
Okay.
So then what you do is you weld a short stick on the end so you can hold it in your tongs, place it in your gas forge. And as it comes warm enough, you can then add flux around the sides. I then put it under a 25-ton hydraulic press, which presses the layers together. Once that's done, I will get it hot, reflux, and it will then go under my power hammer.
Okay. And is your power hammer pneumatic, or is it old wheel?
It's a pneumatic hammer.
Okay.
It's 100 weight with slides. It's an old Massey power hammer.
Oh, man, that's pretty cool.
It's about 70, 80 years old, but still running strong.
And what do you use? Do you use borax for flux, or?
Yes, I do. You can use sand if you want, silica sand. I just like the borax. It makes it clean. It can mess your fire up.
Yes. Yeah, it can be hard on your fire. Have you ever done Damascus in a coal or coke fire?
I tried it once. The problem you've got is you have to open the fire up because you can't push the steel into it because you'll brush all the flux off.
Okay.
I prefer the gas even. It's cleaner and it's more controllable. There's no chance of singeing the edges before the core's hot.
And have you made a lot of knives and swords and weapons?
I've made 2 1840 cavalry officers' swords.
Oh, man. Were they Damascus?
They were Damascus steel.
Oh, man.
One is with the Tampa Bay Police Authority. I gave that to them.
Was that to get out of a ticket?
No, I don't drive when I'm around there. I usually have a taxi service of some description.
Okay.
No, what happened, I was contacted. It's used at the funerals of police officers killed in the line of duty.
Oh, my. So a very ceremonial thing.
It is. So what they do is they put a pair of riding boots into the stirrups on a horse and they go in backwards. And that's to signify an officer that isn't present. And then they wanted a ceremonial sword so it completes the look for the day.
Wow.
Sadly, the last I heard was it had been out 12 times. The other cavalry officer's sword I made was for my son's wedding, which was a bit of a pain because he wouldn't get out of the workshop.
You were doing it on the sly.
Yeah. He had no idea until his wedding day that I was making him a sword to cut his wedding cake.
Now, is this the son that was in the military?
No, this is Matthew.
Okay, all right.
Who is competing here at Spruce Meadows. So he was always practicing for some competition or other. He just would not get out of the workshop. And in the end, I had to order him out. He said, "What's the problem, Dad?" I said, "I just want to make something for myself and you're always in my way. Go. Leave me in peace for a bit."
Very cool.
So he turned up on the wedding day and I presented him and Rebecca, his wife, with the sword to cut the cake.
Oh, man, that's such a cool story.
When you can, you've got to make things for your children that when we're dead and gone, they'll never forget us.
Yeah. It's nice. Well, so folks, I would like you guys to go find the trophy that was given at the 2023 World Champion Blacksmith. We don't have a picture, so can you paint a picture of that thing with words?
Right. It is a Damascus steel set of bones. They are anatomically correct.
Horse bones. We're talking cannon bone, sesamoids, pasterns, and coffin bone.
And navicular. Everything's in there. It's approximately 11 inches tall. I've made a Damasteel hoof capsule. Damasteel is stainless steel Damascus.
Okay.
And then I got Matthew to make me the shoe to go on the bottom. Also made of Damasteel.
And you put a mirror under it so we can tell how well it fits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything fits correctly.
Yes.
I've then added copper laminate inside. Laminate is what attaches the pedal bone and the hoof capsule together. Then there is the 2 flexor tendons running up the back of the leg. Then you've got the 2 extensors.
And what were those made out of?
They're made out of copper.
Just pure copper?
Pure copper.
Okay.
And the same with the 2 extensor tendons. Underneath the flexor tendons, there is the suspensory ligament. That comes down the back, under the tendons, splits, travels actually around the sesamoid bones and connects into the extensor tendon on the front. That's made of silicon bronze, which is an aluminium brass mixture, which makes it forgeable. You can get the brass and tin, but unfortunately that version is a little bit brittle.
Yes.
For forging. So I went with the aluminium bronze.
And so once you had formed these pieces, how did you attach them? Are you soldering with a torch?
No. The bones I have MIG welded at the joints.
Okay.
All the joints are correct. They interface with the real bones that they're based on. So I know they're anatomically correct. And then all the bones were given 3 coats of an etch lacquer.
Okay. An etch lacquer.
Etch. So it actually eats into the metal.
So it's like dipping the metal in the acid. This is a lacquer that does
This is a lacquer that does the same.
I had not heard of that.
Yeah. It's for metal and it won't peel off. So all the different components were coated in that. And then the tendons and the ligaments were attached using a PU adhesive. And it's a structural adhesive. If it'll hold aeroplanes and trucks and cars together, I thought it would be strong enough for the trophy, especially the way baggage handlers throw bags about.
Oh, yeah. Well, And so you got a Pelican with a bolted insert.
Yeah, it's a full custom liner,
It traveled correctly.
not a scratch on it.
So 300 plus hours in this thing. If a guy called you and said, hey, I need to buy one of these trophies for my mantle, what kind of money would you be looking at?
There's a lot of people asking me the question, what is it valued at? The consensus seems to be between 40 and 45,000 pounds.
All right, I can see that. I was going to guess around $50,000 plus. So I don't know what the pounds rate. It'd probably be about the same, wouldn't it?
I don't know what it is to the US dollar.
Are you guys still stronger?
Canadian dollar is 1.6 to the pound.
Okay.
So that would be roughly what, $70,000?
Wow. And the top prize is $75,000. There's been several people tell Mike that they'd rather have the trophy than the check, huh?
Well, if they want to hand the winnings over, I'm more than happy. I've been told by Craig Trinker today that the family who own Spruce Meadows, when they saw the photographs, they became keener to promote the World Championship going forward over the years.
Well, of course, because what a professional thing. It's not like this isn't a plaque to get at Hobby Lobby, right?
No, not at all. I've made it a perpetual trophy because we have trophies in England and we can go back 40 and 50 years, particularly the National Championship trophy. I remember as a young man growing up and doing the competitions, it was absolutely fantastic to see all these names and know some of the people. And they were doing it way before I started competing.
Yeah.
It creates a historic piece. Maybe one day when I'm dead and gone, it'll be classed as an antique. Who knows?
Maybe.
If you can find it, folks, on the websites, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yes. Well, I'll have some pictures on my website as well. So heartlandhorseshoeing.com or Chris Gregory author. There'll be a picture of Mike and I standing beside this on the start of the episode. Tell me what your day is like on your shoeing day.
On the 4 days of shoe, I'm generally up around 6:30. I see to my dog, who's my companion.
Goes everywhere?
He goes everywhere.
What kind of dog?
It's just a little Jack Russell.
Oh, nice.
But he's a hairy version. I think he might be sulking when I get back from here.
Oh, yeah. Who's got him now?
My youngest son's looking after him.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether he's going to take him to work because I think he'll mess his van up for him.
Oh, so he's pretty neat freak, huh?
No, but he is an agricultural engineer. And I think my dog might end up a little bit on the oily side. So I'm generally on the road by 7:30, 7:45.
Oh, so you get up, you don't hang around long, you get going.
I get out and get the job done.
Do you eat breakfast?
I will have some oats in the morning.
So no.
That's about it. I have a very light breakfast. I find if I eat too much during the day, I find it difficult. The older I've got, the worse it's got.
Do you get heartburn?
Terrible.
It's the worst for horseshoers, huh?
Yeah. I might grab a sandwich, but I've actually been on a diet. I'm taking very little sugar. I've gone over to eating healthier and I've dropped 18 pounds. So
oh, man, I hadn't seen you in a while. You look like I remember you, so it's been a while.
Oh, I put some weight on since last time, Chris. So I then go off. I do 4, maybe 5 sets of shoes at different yards, all on my own now. I don't have any apprentices.
And does Matt ever go with you?
Nope. Matt's got his own business. He has his own apprentice. We cover similar areas, but not necessarily the same barns.
Will you fix a shoe for him if he loses one, stuff like that?
Definitely.
Okay, all right.
I mean, if anyone comes up, we try to work together. Other farriers as well. Because I'm well known, they help me because they know I'll help them.
Sure. In 1975, when the Farriers Registration Council got with the Worshipful Company, so were you a registered farrier before there was the diploma?
Well, when I took my exams in 79, it was called the RSS.
Okay.
Which is a registered shoeing smith.
Right. And that's what Bob Marshall was.
Yeah, correct. The year after, it became known as the Diploma of the Worshipful Company of Farriers, or DWCF.
And was it the same exam?
Exactly the same exam.
And the Worshipful Company also administered the RSS?
Correct.
But they also had AWs and FWs before that, right?
Well, when I took my associate, it was called the AFCL.
That's right. Merged the Farrier Company of London or something.
Associate Farrier to the Company of London. That's it. I'll get it right.
Yeah.
And then it's now become the AWCF, which is Associate of the Worshipful Company of Farriers.
Okay, so the Worshipful Company of Farriers was really the Farriers Company of London.
Yes, it is. Yeah. That was first incorporated back in 1670. I think that's when it got its charter.
Yeah, so 1356 originally, and then 1674 is when it got its like modern history, right?
Correct.
Incredible.
So I hold RSS and AFCL qualifications. In my practice, I do a lot of remedial shoeing with the veterinary practices in my area. I try to help all the young farriers who are making mistakes.
Have you had a lot of apprentices over the years?
6.
Oh, wow. That's enough.
Including Matt. So I was trained by my father, and I've now trained my son. Whether it goes on to future generations,
Well, it's not up to you, right?
not up to me now.
Are your apprentices, are they still shoeing?
They're all out there shoeing,
Nice.
some to a more successful degree than others. But
Of course. Yeah.
as the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink.
Well, let's talk about my horse. So my son went to England on a little bit of an exchange, and he spent some time with you.
He certainly did, yes.
So you want to tell some stories about young Cody?
Ooh, now you're asking. I've had a number of people come over on the exchange scheme from different parts of the world, Australia, New Zealand. Cody is a typical farrier's son in that he's like a sponge. He soaks up information. He never stops asking questions. The English horses weren't too keen on his hat he was wearing. They're not used to seeing somebody walk around in a Stetson.
Right.
I mean, we don't wear hats.
Yeah.
We might wear a baseball cap, but that's about the limit. There's one particular pony we did. He bent down and he touched its side. Cody was just left standing there. The pony was off. And it was dragging the owner with it.
Oh, no.
So that was the point when I advised him to take the hat off.
I'll be dang. I hadn't heard that story.
Oh, yeah. It was a field trim we were doing, and there was 4 or 5 ponies in a field, and instead of pulling them up onto the yard, we said, come on, we'll go down the field. It'd be quicker than waiting for the client.
Of course.
Your usual thing. You know what it's like. The fields were dry, so it wasn't like we were up to our necks in mud. Cody went bowling in, all keen as mustard, and this pony took one look at him and eyes popped out, and he bent down and picked the foot up, and as he turned his head, the pony went, no chance, mate, I'm off. Yeah. And off it went down the field.
Well, there's a good point here, because it really is where you grow up. You have not just the horses, but the people, the customs, everything is like it is where you are.
That's right. Everything varies and the animals get used to it. We finished that day and we went in the forge shoemaking. And again, he spent more time with Matt on the shoemaking than myself.
Okay.
Matt was on the England team and he was planning on, I think that must have been back in 2012, wasn't it? 13 maybe?
Cody was like 15 years old or 16. He was very young. And so I set up the exchange with him. He didn't go through the association.
Oh, so he didn't come over on that exchange?
No. I just set up an exchange, Grant Moon, and then Grant Moon passed him around. And I think probably sent him to you.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So a wind has picked up here at Spruce Meadows. So I don't know how bad this is going to sound. Hopefully not bad.
No.
But then, so I don't know. He went Gary Darlow and
he went all over. I think he went up to Scotland. Did he go to the Balfours for a while?
I don't believe so, but I couldn't be sure. He was gone for, I think it was all of 4 months or something.
He spent a couple of weeks with us.
He put gas in Jonathan Nunn's diesel because, the green and the green's the wrong color over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because over here, if you have a green handle, it's almost always diesel.
Is that right?
John said, hey, fill me up and I'll go get us some water or something. He come back.
He had diesel in his petrol truck.
Or vice versa, whichever it was.
Like I say, he was like any young farrier's son. He soaked up the information. He seems to be doing very well for himself.
He's been successful. Yes, sir.
Does he run his own practice now?
Yes. So him and his wife have a practice, and then he has his tool company. So, and he's got 4 CNC mills. He can't find workers. And he's always behind. He makes my hoof knife now. And of course, I'm always behind. And then he runs the school with us. And so Cody is nothing if he's not busy.
If he can't be busy now while he's young, he won't do it when he gets to our ages.
There's an important thing. So many of the guys I'm interviewing now are my friends and peers, and you're about to get a knee replaced, huh?
I'm going to see the surgeon at Christmas time, just before. If I can delay it, I will.
Have you had any injections yet?
I've had the injections. I've had injections in my wrist. I've had injections in my back. I should get laminitis, the amount of cortisone I've had. It's 48 years of wear and tear. And if you're passionate about something, which I always have been, it doesn't matter how much it hurts. You keep going. The great thing now is I can pass knowledge on freely to other guys, and hopefully they won't make the same mistakes, maybe pace themselves a little bit better. We used to do crazy numbers.
Yes, and the old guys would tell us not to, or at least tell me not to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't listen to them any better than the young guys are listening to me.
Yeah, but as young men, we're always greedy. We're keen to improve our lifestyle.
And our body forgives us.
For a while. And then after 30 years, it's starting to ache and hurt in the morning. After 35 years, it's hurting in the morning. The aches have gone, it's just pain. And when you get to 40 years, your body's screaming at you to stop doing what you're doing. And here we are, we keep going at 48 years.
Yeah, so I'm 37 years, I think, into it now. So, I'm 10 years behind you.
Well, you've got more horses in you than me.
I don't know about that. When you do a clinic, what does your clinic usually teach? Do you do PowerPoint, or do you do forging, or do you do shoe?
All three.
What do you prefer?
I personally prefer to get on the anvil.
Okay.
Whenever I've come over to the States, I've always demonstrated concave. I was brought up on concave. Most of the guys I've met in America struggle to turn it,
Yeah.
particularly the toe bends, without causing a twist and losing the foot surface. Somewhere out on the internet, there is a video of me down in Missouri back in about 2010.
Oh, yeah. Where were you at?
I was at Bossier City. The clinic was at...
That must be Louisiana.
Is it Louisiana?
Bossier City was Emerson.
It was Emerson's,
Yeah,
correct.
so that's Louisiana.
Ah, right, sorry, wrong state. I was demonstrating initially, before we did the video, how to get out of some of the difficulties when you lose the foot surface. You know, the bearing on the foot surface, where you've twisted it, overforged it, etc. And I was then approached by Chad Chance.
Oh,
and Chad wanted me to do the video. But at the time, if I remember right, the temperature was, even though it was spring, was something in the order of 85, 90 degrees with
Louisiana.
about 80-odd% humidity.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd never done any shoemaking in that kind of an environment. I was traveling with Grant Moon at the time. So Grant did the commentary and I made the shoes. Otherwise, there would have been no commentary.
So I don't know if Hoofwatch is still going, but I'm sure you'll be able to find that video out there.
The video is still out there. A young man came to see me 6 weeks ago. He was doing his exams at the end of school.
Diploma?
No, this is before he got into the job.
Oh.
He was finishing his school exams off.
So this is the before you actually get an apprenticeship.
Correct, yes. He said, I was bored. He said, I was fed up of revising. So he said, I started looking on the internet. He said, and I came across the video of you. I said, okay. He said, and I thought, that's cool. He said, I want to do that. He visited me, as I say, about 6 weeks ago. And he said, it's my fault he got into the industry.
Oh, no kidding.
He apprenticed with somebody else, but he now wants to come and shadow me so I can teach him some of the remedial shoeing that I'm doing in the veterinary practices.
How cool.
So he wants to further his education. And that's what I like to do, because at the end of the day, too many of our peers went to their grave and took their skills with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They wouldn't share them. And now education is so important. You've got to pass knowledge on. Clinics now, I generally do Damascus steel and knife making clinics. I'm going to start after Christmas running forging days at my shop. So people that maybe want to stay at the holiday let, they can come and knock a bit of steel around in the workshop. And maybe some of the young lads that come in with the dads, they might be inspired to take it up also.
So if you're planning a holiday, you go learn some forging and...
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it. They could learn new skills.
So if you're out there and you're just saying, man, I would like a way to learn how to build a knife or make a shoe, there's an opportunity with Mike Randles in Staffordshire. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be an amazing
It'd be a
adventure.
long way for someone to travel just for a clinic with me, but who knows?
You know what? You can watch all the stuff you want on the internet and you can read all the books, but standing at the anvil with the man that knows how to do it, there's no comparison.
Without a doubt. There's small elements that when you go on the internet, you won't pick up on it.
Yeah, of course not.
But if you have a clinic with somebody, they will mention something. It might not necessarily sink in immediately on the day, but when they go back to their own shops and they start making stuff, they'll go, oh, hang on, he said something about that. I need to do this or I need to do that. Hold the metal there and position it on the anvil like this. So these are always things that people pick up on without necessarily realizing they've heard it, and the explanation is there when they get into making their own products.
Well, and also the master can watch the student and say, no, you need to stand here. Oh, you need to move your foot there. Get your elbow here, and change some very basic fundamental things for the better.
Well, with my apprentices, the first thing I always taught them was how to stand at the anvil.
Right. It's unbelievable how people don't know that.
Yeah. I've watched a couple of the competitors here today practicing at Spruce Meadows. they're standing on one foot. They've got one foot up the side of the anvil stand. And I'm thinking, well, you've no balance.
I know.
So you can't swing a hammer freely. So if you can't swing it freely, you're not going to get the maximum out of a hammer blow.
Right. Yeah, and there's stuff like that you don't see on YouTube.
No, because the hammer blows are concentrating on the material that is actually being struck by the hammer, not how the person is swinging the hammer and how they're standing. If you want to stand at an anvil all day long, making, whether it's shoes, knives, swords, or ornamentals, you've got to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Little things like don't have a concrete slab under your feet. Cut an area out, put some old railway sleepers in, put wood down.
Railroad sleeper is a railroad tie for my American friends.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because railroad sleeper sound like a hobo.
Oh, right. This is where we have a common language that can let us down badly.
Right.
Yeah, so have wood under your feet, or at least a rubber mat.
Right.
So if you're working at the anvil all day, the cold will not strike up into your feet.
Okay.
It makes it more comfortable, and hopefully it'll make your ankle joints last longer.
Yeah, good Lord willing.
Yeah.
And your knees.
Yeah.
And your hips, and ultimately your back. So do you want to tell us a little bit about shoeing in England and the apprenticeship program? Do you have some thoughts on how that's all gone? You watched it evolve? You watched it happen?
When I started my apprenticeship, it was a 4.5-year apprenticeship. Prior to that, I think it was only about 5 years prior to me starting, it was a 7-year apprenticeship. And what you would do was a 5-year apprenticeship and 2 years as a journeyman.
And still working under a master?
And still working under the same master. And the idea was that you would learn all your basic skills in the first years. And then in the last 2 years, you would be supervised, but basically just left to your own devices. But you always had somebody to keep an eye on things.
And that's what your dad went through?
My father did a 7-year apprenticeship.
Okay.
And then, as I say, it's now been reduced to 4 years.
Just total?
Yeah, and they're talking now of 3 years and I think it's 6 months.
The 4-year plus apprenticeship that you did, it was like that for
a long time. It went right through the 70s into, well, really to the early 90s.
And was yours an official apprenticeship? Like your dad had to register it?
It was all done through the National Master Farriers, Blacksmiths and Agricultural Engineers Association, as it was, which is now called the BFBA.
Right.
I think it was too big a title to come out with.
Yeah. And was the Farrier Registration Council around back then?
The Registration Council came into being in 1975. That's when the Act was approved. In the years prior to that, my father was involved with getting it off the ground because they wanted the welfare societies, the RSPCA, the ILPH as it was back then, and the vets as well. They wanted to be in control of it. The association decided they needed to have a voice.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, heaven knows what they would have placed on us as regulations. So my father and a few others off the executive committee of the association got involved. It came into pass in 1975. It was the RSS at that stage. So when I took my exams in 79, I got the RSS exam.
So how about now? Has it been good?
My generation of farriers in the UK have pushed education and raised the standards.
There's no doubt about that. What about ultimately? Has it been good for the farrier, you think? Or do you think it's been too much or too little or what?
Where we are at this moment in time, we're at a bit of a crossroads.
Okay.
In that we have a new apprenticeship scheme. The first candidates have only just come out of the examination system. I still think it's too early to make a call on whether it's good or bad. I'm old-fashioned. I have the view, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. The old system was not broken, but we had a tragic situation a few years ago, and a young man failed his exams and took his own life. It caused uproar because we weren't meeting the standards of modern-day industry. There weren't checks in places that could have maybe helped him. So everything was turned upside down because of that one event. And we've now got to go through this process of seeing how the new system works. The education is a lot stricter. For me, I think there's too much emphasis on the theory element. because at the end of the day, it's a practical job.
Absolutely.
They've taken tool making out of the apprenticeship.
Really?
Yeah. And my view is, if you can't make the tools, how can you make the shoe?
Right.
There's still talk that they might take shoemaking out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
They're taking the view that 3/4 fulled shoes, cork and wedges, all the old style of shoeing is obsolete.
Wow.
My view on shoemaking is, if you can't make a shoe, you can never fit a shoe.
Yeah.
Because, Chris, when you're making the shoe, you get the toe bend correct, you get the quarters through to the heels, and it flows. Yes, we can all go and buy keg shoes, and we can stand there and we can alter the shape, and we can run one branch up a bit, or we can get going on the grinders.
Well, we can also do it better if we know how to make a shoe to start with.
Correct. And if you can't see a horse's foot in the shape of a shoe you've made, you need to go back to the anvil and assess your own shoemaking.
Yeah. Well, I had no idea they were even talking about stuff like that in England. What a tragedy that would be.
I don't know whether it's a tragedy yet, but I personally have my reservations. I'm sure it's like anything. When changes come, the old guard are always a little bit, well, in my day, lad, we did it like this, you know.
True enough.
The industry will survive.
Oh, of course.
The education of the apprentices, male and female, because we have quite a number of young ladies coming through now.
Right.
It will improve and it will adjust.
Yep, true enough.
As I say, we've only just had the first set of apprentices through the new scheme. Maybe it'll get tweaked in some way.
Were they largely successful in their exams?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
We're certainly getting a lot more higher qualified farriers coming through now, because to have an apprentice, you now have to hold your AWCF, your Associate of the Worshipful Company of Farriers, which I've never disagreed with. My view is you have to have a higher qualification to teach somebody of a lower qualification.
I would agree.
If you can't set a higher standard than the person you're trying to train, it's a retrograde step. So I've always supported the AWCF being the minimum standard to have an apprentice. I've always held it throughout the teaching of my apprentices. And then if you want to take your fellowship or your associate, you should have a fellow to shadow.
To train you. Have you ever thought about taking your fellowship?
Many times, but unfortunately I had 6 children, a wife and daughters with horses. I had to go out and earn money.
I didn't know you had 6 children. So how many shoes? Is it just Matt?
Just Matt, just my eldest. I think the other 4 the girls weren't interested. They just wanted to ride horses. I think the other 3 boys took one look and thought that's too much like hard work. My second eldest son holds a high management position. He's got about 1,500 employees that answer to him. He works for a big company.
That would be more hard work than shoeing horses.
It would be to me. My third eldest son was in the Navy, the Royal Navy, and he was an aircraft engineer. He used to maintain and repair the Harrier jump jets, which the British government scrapped, and the American government bought them because they thought they were in better condition than your own. So, hey, they're still flying, but under the US flag.
Okay. Did he ever become a pilot?
No. He sadly, he didn't have the 20/20 vision for that.
Oh, all right.
He would have loved to have flown. I once went to Liverpool docks and had a look inside one of the Harrier jets. The HMS Ark Royal came in and we were invited on board, and he got permission for me to look in the cockpit.
What did you think?
They must be midgets. Those cockpits are tiny.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have fitted in it. Christopher, my son, I don't think he would have fitted in. I can't see them pushing the seat back to make more room. And then my youngest son has his own agricultural engineering company.
Very cool. So they're all successful men.
They've all been very successful. My eldest daughter has recently qualified as a nurse.
And how many grandchildren do you have?
I have 10 grandchildren now.
Wow. Any of them keen on becoming a horseshoer?
None at the moment. But time will tell. Whatever my children wanted to do, I would encourage them. Matt used to come out from about 7 or 8 years of age, and then he started mithering. He wanted to make shoes. So, like I say, he was about 8. He started making shoes, and somewhere I've still got his first shoe.
Yep.
And I will embarrass him if he wins the World Championship. We will auctioneer that one.
Well, at least you have a case for it to go back to England with you.
Yeah. He's got a 1 in 65 chance of winning. It'll be interesting to see how the guys get on.
It's going to be a cool cool thing to watch. So we are September of 2023, and probably this interview won't be heard until winter of 24. So now I do need you to tell me a dad joke.
Oh, a dad joke. What makes people cringe? How do you fool an Irishman?
Tell me.
Put 2 spades against the wall and tell him to take his pick.
I don't get it.
A pickaxe? You've put 2 spades against the wall. He's looking for a pick.
Oh, okay. All right.
How to ruin a good joke? Have to explain it after. Yeah, unfortunately, in the UK in the 70s, it was always the Englishman, Irishman, and Scotsman jokes.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And I'm from the age group where I haven't moved on with the jokes.
So is there anything you would like to talk about that we haven't talked about?
Everything I want to give to the world is education.
All right.
Never stop learning. If you think you know it all, I can guarantee you don't know anything.
And like you, I love to learn.
Yeah. My father used to say, the man that never did anything never made anything.
All right. That's good words to finish with.
You know, you've got to keep trying. And it doesn't matter whether you come to the industry as a young man. I know in the States, people change their careers and come at things later on. Education. All the way. I know Chris has written books and he's done clinics all over the US and into Europe. Here's the man.
Well, I love to learn. So I've learned all kinds of crazy things, but I love to learn.
And like I say, education. Everybody, keep going. Never stop learning. It doesn't matter whether it's your chosen career. Learn something new every day of your life. Learn a new recipe. Learn a new language. Learn to be humble.
There you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Mike Randles sitting here with me at Spruce Meadows. And, sir, I can't thank you enough for taking this time out of our busy days here. And it was awesome.
It's good fun.
Well done. Thank you, sir. My son Cody has always had a mind that works in an engineering mechanical way that allows him to solve problems that some people, like me, don't even know exist. His fuller is a perfect example. I've been making shoes since 1990 and have used just about every type of creaser there is out there. Some drive well, some don't, but to me they were all pieces of metal on a handle with an end to hit and a sharp end to make the crease. Cody started playing around with the geometry and heat treating of his fullers, and it was amazing how I can crease with one of his tools with a lot less effort. It takes 3 passes with another brand, Cody's will make it in 2. Well, I don't know how he did it, but I do know that his tools work with precision and accuracy that many others don't, allowing me to do a better job because they have a quality that I can count on. From his punches to his tongs, you'll not find a better tool to make your life as a farrier easier. Check out his line of tools at CodyGregoryLLC.com.